For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sashnee Moodley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
By most accounts, the ANC manifesto launch in the Nelson Mandela Metro was a flop. What are the consequences?
Yeah, personally, I don't place a lot of weight on big launches and big crowds because you can't measure that as signifying support. But the ANC set itself up by saying they were going to have 110,000 people, 1,000 buses, and I don't know how many trains and what. And it was quite a small stadium. Well, by the standards of stadiums, it could only hold 46,000. And it does appear that it was about 3/4 full at most. People were drifting out and not interested in the speeches and things like this. So that it does seem that the ANC launch was a flop. Some reports say that people in the area were fairly hostile to the ANC coming into town because Port Elizabeth has remained a very segregated place with, like in Cape Town, very well cared for white areas and black areas with problems with schools, problems with basic needs and things like this. So that they feel that the ANC has not delivered for them. And they just thought, well, what must we go to this thing for? I can't say, who attended and who didn't attend. It's impossible to say. But Sam Nkokeli in Business Day, 2 days ago, gave a very different view. He did agree that they hadn't managed to fill the stadium and all of that, but his view was that the DA had reached a ceiling in terms of its support and that people still had a basic loyalty to the ANC. One must remember that for the ANC to lose in Nelson Mandela Metro is very significant because when you walk there are more former Robben Islanders per square mile in that area than anywhere else in the world. Townships are just filled with these people because large numbers went to jail in the early 60s. So it's a lot of the old people, but then there was a second group that came in after 76. So that when the UDF was formed, some of these people were just coming up, but there was still there'd been a decimation of a community because so many of them had been ANC people. So to lose Nelson Mandela Municipal Metro is really a serious thing in the sense that a decade back one would have thought was unimaginable that this place, which produced Govan Beki, Raim Klaba, a whole lot of other people who are very famous in the liberation struggle, can now possibly be lost. And I think it's important for us to ask what is the reason that the ANC is in danger of losing this metro. And it seems to me it's got something to do with the ANC no longer exciting people. There was a time, let's say, I'll give you a very extreme example, but when Chris Hani spoke in the launch of the Communist Party at FNB Stadium, the dancing was so much I thought the stand could collapse. You know, people were so excited by the imagery of Chris Hani. You would see this also when he spoke. He was a person who would go to every village and he would explain to people complicated ideas. See, people like myself were involved in writing documents, but he would explain what it meant to not have water in terms of breaking down the implications in terms of drinking, health, all of these things. And he was Xhosa speaking, but he would be going all over the country. It wasn't like he was just going to his home village and things like that. Now, you don't have an ANC like that anymore. You have an ANC which elects councillors, and people get so fed up with the councillors, they burn down their homes and all of this, and the councillors are involved in contracts. So there's a very, very different situation. Even whether the ANC wins or the ANC doesn't win, ANC is a very different organization from before. In my view, it's no longer really a political organization in the first place.
So what lies ahead?
It's possible that the ANC will not have a majority in Nelson Mandela Metro, in Tshwane, in Johannesburg. I doubt whether Ekurhuleni will fall. But that means then that the other organizations will have to combine in order to form a coalition. And against the losses of the ANC, we have to remember, and Sam Nkokeli brought this up, people still don't trust the DA, not in the same way as they don't trust the president because the president eats their money, not in the same way as that. They don't trust the DA. They still see it as a white person's party. Well, you know, I myself feel that I would have great difficulty voting for the DA. I jokingly refer to it as being recolonized. And that's the way people see Cape Town, Western Cape, as under colonial rule. And even though one's very unhappy with the ANC, it's very, very hard to vote, especially for black people, to vote for this white party. But it's also, the ANC has created in people's minds the idea that they are responsible as the ANC, not as the state, as the ANC for social grants. So that if the ANC goes, they are worried that they won't get these social grants. And you see the language that the DA speaks is not very sensitive to race. It calls it playing the race card and all of that, but they don't seem to recognize adequately the inequalities. They think merit is everything. Their candidate in Johannesburg says he's not black. But I think, what is he if he's not black? You see, because color doesn't matter to him. He said that in the beginning, and that's typical with the era. With the EFF, I think the EFF may, on the whole, gain more votes nationally than the DA will, but not over about 15%. The EFF has managed to speak in a way that resonates with the ANC's previous constituency. But what their program is, what their policies are, whether they can be implemented, I'm not sure about that. But they're very dramatic and they are very effective in the way they handled Constitutional Court, the way they handled the events after the Constitutional Court, calling for recusal of the Speaker and things like this. And it's not the DA that's united the opposition on these matters. It's the EFF. People think the EFF are hooligans, but it's the so-called hooligans who have actually managed to get the opposition to be effective in Parliament. So look, I'm not a fortune teller, so I can't forecast. These are some of the ways I see the trends.
Thanks for speaking with us, Professor.
Pleasure.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the ANC manifesto launch flop. What are the consequences?